a great time to be alive, Warhammer enjoyers, and Sanguinius has arrived, and I can't wait to get into the review. Welcome on in, fellow members of the chapter, and if you are new here, we fully welcome you. I would encourage you to hit that subscribe button because yours truly here likely has one of the largest Warhammer 40k as well as Horus Heresy action figure reviews on his YouTube channel. I digress because you're here to see Sanguinius's action figure review, so I will give you exactly what you want, starting off with the unboxing. I sincerely apologize for the interruption, folks, but I wanted to bring you a special message from JoyToy. JoyToy is where I get all of these action figures that you see behind me. I have been using them for at least 2 to 3 years now, and never once did I have any issues with their stellar customer service. They provide excellent ship times and sometimes can get these action figures to your door in the United States in 4 days only. And I would have to argue that their user interface on their website is probably one of the best. You can easily navigate through all the different Warhammer 40k sections as well as the Horus Heresy sections to find exactly what you want in the search button. And with that being said, do not forget to use the code SNS to receive 12% off of your purchase so that you can buy more of these wonderful action figures that you see behind me. So I thank you for your time, and now let's get back into the review. My initial thoughts about Sanguinius is as follows. So compared to the rest of his brother Primarchs that have been released, he seems a little bit anemic. What I mean by that is I think he's arguably the lightest of all the already released Horus Heresy Primarchs without the wings, and his build is actually quite thin as well, which obviously contributes to his feathery physique. When compared next to Dorn, you can tell that Sanguinius is quite a bit thinner. Also, when inspecting Sanguinius from afar, he looks like he suffers from the same curse as his brother Dorn, in that he resembles a golden trophy. However, upon closer magnifying glass inspection, the regalia resplendent has this burnt metallic gold to give it more character, more substance. So now let's talk about the head of this resplendent Primarch. Atop this Primarch is a full head of golden textured locks of hair that's been shaded to give a little bit more depth and flavor. The spice has really been brought out by the highlighted green laurels, and then the piercing all-knowing stare of the eyes. I think that JoyToy painted this eye area with some sort of like clear gloss paint because they reflect light very well to give more of a lifelike character. This touch does look better than the little white dot on the eye that is found in recent Horus Heresy figure releases. However, I do find the face a bit bland due to the lack of shading and needs a little bit more pronounced definition. The back of the head boasts the most massive iron halo, or in this case a gigantic golden sun. As a side note, the blazing rays around the sun is made of a soft pliable plastic, as you can see here. Now let's talk about Sanguinius's broad shoulders and lanky arms. The right pauldron sports a gigantic metal red area with a blood tear that from afar kind of looks like an eye that is as red as the devil's gentleman's sausage. There's the presence of burnt gold shading that doesn't really help define the various laurels and decoration that are found in this area. The detail is kind of lost in the fog of gold due to the rather monochrome colors that are present on the regalia resplendent. However, I do find the scale armor texturization and the designs on the forearms to be one of a kind and really helps define this area more. The left pauldron and arm is a mirror image of the right one, except for one very noticeable exception, which is the presence of a 30k leopard of some sort. While the pelt is not as deeply textured as Horus's pelt, this one still sports a fur-type look, especially around the paw area. The head of the leopard looks properly feral, with sharp fangs and a piercing green feline stare. Moving on to the chest and torso area, front and center is a bunch of kind of red eyes that look like compound eyes of a spider. I don't know about you, but I get properly creeped out when I study this area for a bit too long. There are very Baroque type designs in this area with rivets and swirls. Aside from that, there is the presence of more of the leopard's pelt, which thankfully breaks up the resplendent gold. Of note, the armor on the lower torso area is made of a softer plastic, and I think this is probably to aid the movement of this figure. Now, the waist area on a Marine is typically the most decorated, and Sanguinius does not disappoint at all. He is sporting a very Ultramarines-esque tabard with 3 strips of leather, but obviously he added a little touch of Blood Angel's elegance by adding metallic red studs, as well as Blood Angel symbols at the end of the leather. There's a scabbard that is attached to the armor at 2 points right here as well as here, and I think that you'll need to be a little bit careful with this area because it seems like it may be prone to ripping if you're a little bit too rough with it. I do like how the brown, gold, and red of the scabbard tie into the rest of this action figure. Now, the scabbard is completely functional in that it can hold the moon silver blade, but it does not unfortunately hold the blade in carmine. Finally, there's a holster for Infernus that is completely functional. Now let's focus in on the back area. Now this cape looks like something that a cougar would wear to a nightclub to entice younger males, but nonetheless, this is Sanguinius' personal style and flair. The cape has proper folds and has some light shading in certain areas. When the cape is flipped over, you can see more texturization, and the shading is slightly more pronounced due to the absence of a leopard print. As you have properly deduced, there are 2 holes to attach the wings on the upper back portion. Aside from that, I would say that there's really nothing much else to see. Thankfully, the Primarch's legs has a bunch of Baroque designs on it, much like the chest area to break up the almost desert-like expanse on a Marine. The nice thing is that you can see the intricate designs due to the size of Sanguinius' very slender legs. Just like the Crimson Paladins, there is a nice golden vine-like design, and the same scaled armored portion that is found on the forearms. The knees boast proper Blood Angel's iconography in the form of a blood tear and a winged blood tear. Now let's talk about Sanguinius' weapons of war, starting off with Infernus. I'll have to admit to you, this gun looks the most plain and diminutive compared to the rest of the hand-to-hand combat weapons. What makes this weapon really stand out is the unique shape of it, as it looks like if a melt-a-gun and a Western 6-shooter made a gun baby. I think this gun would have looked a little bit better if there was more color variation, because the near monochrome gunmetal color with silver weathering does not do it any favors. With regard to the blade in carmine, the design is very elegant looking, where the whitest point starts at the hilt and gracefully tapers off to a wicked point. There does not seem to be any characteristic color gradient that are found in other power swords, in that this blade is a solid glittery gunmetal. The golden handguard that wraps around the hilt of the sword really sets this weapon apart from the rest of the plebeian weapons that the regular Marines wield. I really believe that this sword is the full embodiment of the adage, there is elegance in simplicity. Now moving on to the massive Spear of Telesto. The spear bears the same tapering color gradient that is found on power swords, in that the tip of the spear starts off as a light silver color and then migrates down to a darker gunmetal color. There is only a 9th Legion Roman numeral engraved on the spear tip, along with a few simplistic designs. Just like the Crimson Paladins, the color balance on the spear is supreme with the usage of varied colors for each different region on the spear. And the spear is so massive that it towers over Sanguinius himself. The moon silver blade resembles more of a regular power sword, albeit there are more decorations on it. Like the blade in carmine, the blade of this sword appears to be a gunmetal, but seems to have some lighter silver areas interspersed throughout it. I do enjoy the ornate hilt in the form of wings. However, what really makes this blade different from its bigger brother is that the handle region is highly textured, with this spiral band as well as these maroon rivets. I find that the continuity of the colors and the look of all 3 melee weapons is fantastic. It really binds together the Blood Angel's aesthetic perfectly. I think that JoyToy really did a great job of capturing the majesty as well as the breadth of Sanguinius' singular most defining characteristic, which are his angelic wings. The wings are highly textured, almost akin to the wolf pelts that are found on Horus as well as Russ. The model of the wings are absolutely extraordinary in that you can see each vein of the feathers, then you start migrating down. The feathers become gradually smaller but lose none of the great detail. I'm also glad that these wings are not a plain white, but have a nice shading and a color gradient from this dark gray down to the lighter gray towards the body. Now, there are a few accessories that Sanguinius comes with. He does have this hand that is good for wrapping around melee weapons, a set of hands for putting his fingers around Infernus, as well as a closed fist. Now, the wings are properly massive so that Sanguinius needs a proper base to be put on. So this is the area that attaches to Sanguinius's back, and I will show you how to do it. There's this hole right here beneath the wings, and you just slot it in right here. And voila, you have Sanguinius on a stand. Then the rest of it is as simple as slotting this part together and then attaching this peg into this hole right here. And you also want to make sure to tighten these screws down to make sure that whatever position that you want Sanguinius to be in holds. Now let's talk about the movement of Sanguinius. It would appear that this winged angel boy is the most limber, the most spry of all the Horus Heresy Primarchs that have been released thus far. And this is because he actually doesn't have any restriction of motion at all. However, I still need to point out one very small issue. Around the head area, while the head is not completely restricted, there is some sort of slight inhibition of movement due to the long, beautiful locks of Goldilocks hair. And as I try to spin them around, the head came off. Due to this leopard pelt not being attached to the figure, this left shoulder can freely spin, like so. Now the wings are attached together at this point right here. This is the completely folded in look. And then pivoting about this joint, you can achieve full extension like this. This is the full extension of the wings. And this is where the wings attach to the body. And there's also a joint right here that allows for better motion, as you can see. And attaching the wings to Sanguinius's body is fairly simple. You just push in and then push in this area as well. Total wingspan is absolutely massive, as you can see here. And from tip to tip, we're kind of looking at 14.5 inches. Sanguinius's wings are so massive that you can pretty much fit 3 Space Marines within the wingspan. And now it is size comparison time. Comparing the Crimson Paladin to the Primarch is towering over this rather large Marine. And this is how tall Sanguinius is compared to the Blood Angel's Primaris Terminator. And this regular version 2 Blood Angel barely comes up to Sanguinius's waist. And while I have the other golden boy out, it would appear that Dorn is just a little bit taller than his brother on the right hand side. Alright, thank you for joining me in the in-depth review. Now come with me to the wrap-up. Well folks, what an absolutely truly resplendent action figure. He's so huge that I have to stand off on this side corner over here in order to properly address you all. But regardless, let me know what you think of him in the comments section. So I will give you my thoughts right now. I'll start off with the bad one, in that, you know what, I'll be honest with you, I don't really like the armor. I know that might be true heresy being spoken. The reason why I say that is because, as I said in my review, he looks a little bit too monochrome. When you look at Russ, or as well as Horus himself, as well as Magnus, to be honest, all 3 of those Primarchs have very well-defined breaks and designs on their armors. So I just think that the monochrome gold kind of makes Sanguinius a little bit too bland to look at. But aside from that, he is truly an awesome figure to have in your collection. Obviously, if you're a Blood Angels enjoyer, this is going to be an absolute no-brainer to have in your collection. I will let you know again that JoyToy did a perfect job of capturing the grandness and the scale of his wings, and they also did capture the nobleness as well as the elegance of the armor through all the different Baroque designs that are found in it. So you may be wondering, does Sanguinius really need his stand to literally stand? And the answer is no, he does not, even with his wings attached. While I was posing for the B-reel, you can pose Sanguinius in a means without the stand that he won't fall over. But if you want to have that peace of mind that you won't knock Sanguinius over, then I would encourage you to put him on the stand that is provided by JoyToy. Anyway, members of the chapter, thank you so much for joining me in this action figure review as usual.
I appreciate all of your comments, likes, and subscribes. And again, if you're new here, I encourage you to hit that subscribe button. 2025 is going to be an awesome year. There's still going to be many more action figure reviews for the near future. I will be doing a review on Titus as well as the rest of his squad in the coming weeks. So look for those reviews in the future, and I'll see you all in the next one.